Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jerred Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with Ashley Hicks and Joe Courtney. Ma'am, sir.
Hello, good sir.
Yeah, see? From the briefing lesson I gave last week, right?
Yeah, we were listening to it in the car, and Scott was like, it's very true.
Yeah, that's exactly how you do it. So Kyle's not here. Big deal. Today's episode 100.
Boop, boop.
Yeah, made it to 100. Woohoo!
We need like the 100 glasses, you know?
Joe, sound effect.
Oh man, I'm not prepared.
All right,
do it for 200. Next 200.
Yeah, over the next 100 episodes, we're gonna get way better. So we're skipping updates this week because there's a good amount to cover. What we're doing this week is we're gonna go over our top 3 studies personally that we've selected because we've gone over 100 different studies now or close to it. Technically, not this one. So 99 studies that we have covered on the podcast. We're all going to pick our top 3 and kind of tell you why we like those. And then we're also going to get into answering the questions we ask our athletes every single week. So hardest workout you've ever done, the best activity for building mental toughness. We're all going to answer those as a team. And so that's what we're doing today. Something a little bit different for episode 100. But the only update I do want to start with is just a community-wide update. I said I would share the numbers with everybody. We have just finished, as of this recording, we've just finished the Murph burner track and all the donations to the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. And we have, as a community, donated $32,870 to the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. So awesome job, everybody. The community, it's just amazing. You guys blow me away how much you're willing to put into this and how much the community means to everyone. I know it means a lot to us all here. So thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of it and, you know, getting some good training in, PRing Murph, all that fun stuff, but at the same time, doing something really awesome, you know, for a charity. So I think that's really cool. All right, we're just gonna hop right into it. This is gonna be a little bit weird for us, but we're gonna get into it.
Not even warm yet.
Yeah, so let's get into the studies. Like I said, we're each gonna pick a study, 3 studies apiece that were our favorites. We'll do one at a time. So you're gonna have to rank order here, Ashley and Joe. So you have to pick the number 1, or we'll go number 3, your third favorite, then second favorite, then first favorite. And I'm gonna start with ladies first.
Oh, man, I knew that was going to happen.
Ashley, what is your top 3? What is your third favorite study we have covered on the podcast and why?
Third favorite study. Well, I was going to say that any study that had females in it was my favorite study, but that was a joke.
Which is like what, 10% of them?
Yeah. I will say my third favorite study was episode 51, which is Age Ain't Nothing But a Number is what we titled it. But the study was they tested middle-aged men as well as younger men, and middle age being probably like 40s, 50s, I believe. And they tested squatting. And so I said, duh, I'm going to love this study because it was squatting. It wasn't like some leg press or random stuff that they did. But basically it proved that even because a lot of people say, oh, I'm getting older. I can't be as fit as I was when I was younger or whatnot. And this study kind of almost debunked that, like said, like you can still keep up with, you know, the younger guys, younger dudes, and still stay as fit. So that was my third favorite study. And I kind of liked it just because, I mean, I don't think I'm old, but I know that I'm getting older, obviously, each year. And so I just loved that it kind of says like, You can still stay fit and still be strong and have goals even as you are getting older, which
Yeah, and I
I
think
really liked.
age, I really feel like there's two sides to that, because in certain cases there are actually factors to getting older, but I feel like a lot of those are mindset driven early on, and so yes, there will be some disadvantages to getting older, but
Right.
they probably not as big as you think that they are, and you shouldn't use those as these limiting beliefs that you're not able to achieve certain things or do certain things, or just because you're getting older. I was a big fan of that study as well.
Yeah, didn't want to use age as a crutch.
All right, Joe, you're number 3.
All right, so I'm cheating on this one already, and it's like a twofer, and they're
Oh
similar
gosh.
and related, but it's also the logic behind. So mine are all for three different reasons actually, just to break it down that way. But so this one is we've done a study about squat bar position, high bar, low bar, and then deadlift type, whether it's Romanian or trap bar. And these two I like to combine together because these are some of the more similar questions we get with athletes. What are our programming preferences? What is the best for whatever they're doing? And those two both shed light on which to advise with from a coaching standpoint and from our standpoint as well. And they both tested strength and velocity metrics and muscle activations. And so we can actually say, okay, if you're looking to do this, then you should be focused on this. If you're looking to do this, then they should be focused. You should be focused on this or using this type of bar or bar position. And I mean, I've always kind of been against the trap bar deadlift, and it kind of made me look at it as actually I should use trap bar deadlift as a tool because we learned that that's a good way to work on velocity with deadlift because you're taking some of the lower back strain out of it and you can move a bit more explosively. So that was cool to see, and how trap bars can fit into training, or how the different bar positions on the back can fit in your training or certain types of athletes. So that's why I really like that one for advising standpoints. The squat one was 38 and the deadlift was 89, or I might have this backwards actually. I think I have this backwards. Yeah.
The number of episodes you mean?
38 and 89, either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we do have all of the podcasts listed by number, so we will be telling episode number for everyone. If you want to, you're like, oh, that's interesting, I'd love to hear the full thing or whatever, you can flip back to that number and listen to it.
They're also recapped on the blog post if you want to go to our blog on our website too.
I was actually doing that earlier. So I'd click on a blog post and I'd use the search feature in on our own website to just like make sure I could pull up the study and look at the notes on it again and everything. So that was really helpful.
Well, as long as we're plugging things, there's also a podcast highlight page.
There's also a
Where
podcast highlight page.
Over the last 100, there's 30 or so of our highlights, and basically all of them that we're talking about here, I think, are on that page anyway.
All right, and just big picture, I love how much. I know this format is something I kind of decided on, but the fact that we're all reading studies every single week, I don't think maybe the athletes understand. So we're all, if you had to label us, let's say strength and conditioning coaches in general, whatever you want to call us, if you go anywhere else to a gym or other online programming and you ask them how many studies they read per year, you're gonna get some probably blank looks. And I know me and the team, we're reading a minimum 52 new studies per year. Like Joe was just talking about how he's using stuff from the science from trap bar deadlifts to make recommendations to athletes. Like it's just a really big picture. It's cool that I'm biased obviously, but I think it's cool that we're like the most well-informed group, probably all around, who are actually providing programming
Officially.
Now I'll get to my third favorite. It was episode or number 14, grounding for improved athletic recovery and reduction in inflammation. I mentioned last week too that I'm grounding again. I just kind of forgot about it. Like the grounding mat gets put away. There's no real reason for me to do it, not do it. And so that's a big reason I've been grounding since before we did that study. And then I just recently brought it back. But it's cool because it's just something that impacted my daily life. I read that study, I got more serious about it. And so if you're not familiar with what grounding is, we did mention it last week. You could take your shoes and socks off and go stand on the earth, so actual grass or dirt outside, dirt if you're in Texas. And you're officially grounding. You can also get these grounding mats that plug into your wall through the grounding wire of the electrical outlet. So no, you're not electrocuting yourself or anything like that. But in this study, they did a lot of downhill running, and to just get as much muscular fatigue and soreness and muscle damage as they possibly could. And then they had, a placebo group where the grounding mats did nothing. Then they had the grounding group, and it said the grounding was shown to result in faster recovery and or less pronounced markers of muscle damage and inflammation. So this wasn't like, hey, do you think you feel better? Like you feel better than you did yesterday? They're actually looking at blood markers of inflammation and muscle damage to see if their recovery is actually working. And the reason I like this one is just because it's so weird. Like if you just tell someone about grounding or earthing, they're going to think that you're some crazy hippie. Like this is some weird stuff. The first time I heard it, I was kind of in that camp. I was like, okay, yeah, all right, whatever. But then you start to look at a little bit of the science, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool how much science there actually is behind it. And it's super easy to do. If you buy one of the pads, it's very cheap. If you can go outside, it's free and can really help with your recovery times. So I think that one's really cool and can be really helpful.
Yeah, that's similar to. Oops, sorry. That's similar to one of the reasons to one of my others. The ones that I pulled out is that the science is great and the application is super easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of love those. I was like, didn't we do one too that talked about traveling or whatnot? Was that, I don't think that was the same one where we talked about grounding as for like jet lag and stuff.
Circadian rhythm.
I think, yeah.
I remember we were talking. It's like helpful. It like helps you adapt quicker or something like that, right?
I just remember it was one of the summers that I was living in England, and Joe told me for one of my trips, he was like, as soon as you get to the airport, take your shoes off and walk through the grass.
It helps.
I know.
All right, number 2 for Ashley.
Okay, number 2. I'm going to say it was episode 27, and we titled it, Is Low Intensity Training the Next Big Thing? We've talked a ton about zone 2, and we've talked a ton about, what high intensity does to the body if you do it over and over. I'm even in like the camp of, I think CrossFit might have contributed to some of the stuff that I'm going through now. Again, I can't really prove it.
Can I just hop in right there? Like I am seeing this. So you and I have been, we kind of started along the same journey. We were fitness for other reasons. We got into CrossFit around the same time. And then we also both got out of CrossFit, but I just have all these friends, let's call them online friends, acquaintances I've made through the Better Humanology podcast, and people who got involved around when we did. And I hate to say it, but I'm seeing it left and right of these problems popping up. And I can almost guarantee it's because of high intensity exercise. And they're coming up with some weird, like I've seen people hospitalized, at least 3 friends now with some sort of weird like anxiety thing or autoimmune thing, and they can't quite figure it out. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just think that high intensity all the time is not just like it's dangerous at this point, in my opinion. It's not just like, oh, you kind of do whatever you want. It's like, no, there's a right way and a wrong way to do things. And I'm very kind of set on that now. And I'd be like, yeah, everybody, to each their own, but no, you could be doing the wrong thing.
For sure. Yeah. And just for everyone listening, it was about 10 years ago when I jumped in, and Jerred was probably around that time too. So, yeah. So this study basically proved that you didn't have to, they were training to, I believe it was like leg extensions, and they were training to failure with one leg. This was the one where they did 2 legs, which we were kind of making fun of. Like if we were in this study, would we like do one thing with one leg and one thing with another? But anyways, one was to max effort or failure. And then one was to, obviously not max effort. So they just kind of throttled it back, and it showed that you could get the same strength results by not doing max effort all the time. And it just proved that you don't have to put the wear and tear on your body. You don't have to go full throttle. every single time when you train. And we kind of talked about, I believe in that episode, like the differences of, like Jerred talked a little bit about, that's what I just thought I had to do, when I was, I'll call it bro lifting or whatnot. But yeah, and it's kind of like the same way in CrossFit. If you think about it too, when I was training that way, it's doesn't matter what workout it is, you are going 100%. You're not throttling back or trying to get in different zones for your heart rates or anything like that. You're just going 100% each time, and you're just trying to get to the end as fast as you possibly can. And this shows there's better way to train. So yeah, that's my second favorite one.
Well, great segue, because mine, and there's going to be overlap with Jared's, is Zone 2. I mean, we talk about it a ton.
Mm.
It's fantastic. The fact that, I think we got everybody to listen to that one because we titled it "How to Burn Fat," and so
sneaky.
Yeah. And I think that's when we talked about being fat breathers. I know that was a thing. I remember making the graphic for that one was really funny because the graphic that we had made. But Zone 2, we do it all the time. I mean, we prescribe it to athletes all the time. We do it ourselves all the time. I mean, I do it almost even during regular training weeks. And now Zone 2 is conditioning that is 60 to 70% of your max heart rate. And you are burning a lower, very much a lower intensity to have your body run on more of fat for fuel, and just to have the study that we looked over showed that it boosts mitochondrial function, and it is great for recovery and your conditioning in general, and it really helps your body to operate at higher or at lower heart rates to do more. I'm trying to word right now. I can't think of like be more efficient with your heart rate. So you can after a while you can be able to run faster at a lower heart rate, and therefore conserving more energy and using less energy to that. So, and that is it's just fantastic study that has, I feel like that one study has had one of the hugest effect on programming in general for us.
Yeah, and there will be overlap, so it's kind of ruined because
it's
not my number 2. So
oh,
my number 2 is episode 22, or number 22, cardiorespiratory fitness and long-term mortality. I just thought this one was really cool because it made a very very strong case for a lot of cardiorespiratory fitness, even if you're a strength athlete. And the study was massive. So the study was over 122,000 people that they looked at. And they said the ultimate takeaway was cardiorespiratory fitness is inversely associated with long-term mortality with no observed upper limit of benefit, meaning they were taking people who were a little bit fit, moderate fit, very fit, elite fit, and it was just the bar always changed. If you the better your cardiorespiratory fitness was, the longer you lived. Out of 122,000 people, a lot of the studies that we're looking at are 13 people, 65 people. Sometimes when we get into meta-analysis or systematic review, we're looking at hundreds of people. So this may be the largest study that we ever covered on the podcast. Like I said, over 100,000 people, and cardiorespiratory fitness is inversely associated with long-term mortality and no observed upper limit of benefit. So if you want to live longer, do more conditioning. Conditioning is very, very important. And I don't think I really need to sell the community on conditioning in general. But I just think that this is pretty cool to see the actual science behind it, because there can be a lot of arguments for different types of fitness and nutrition and all these other things. And it's all important. But how well your cardiorespiratory fitness is from zone 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, all those different zones is going to help you live longer. So I think that just really stapled that in my brain, and that was a good one.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, drum roll noise. I'm just gonna pretend like you have all these.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
One day.
All right, Ashley, what's your number 1?
All right, my number 1, shocking, it has to do with nutrition. I mean, it just falls in line for me. I think nutrition has, I've used nutrition as medicine. I've used nutrition to help heal my body. And so this one is, if it fits your food quality, it's episode 20. And I loved it because it debunked the whole if it fits your macros thing. And I think we had a whole bunch of people that came as clients to us, or at least I'm speaking from experience. And a lot of it, they wanted a macronutrient count. And then when I would dive a little bit deeper and say like, hey, what are you actually eating? They'd get a little frustrated because they were like, well, it fits my macro, so it doesn't really matter. And I'm like, oh, but it kind of does. And so basically they had two groups. They had an ultra processed group and a unprocessed group. And then we even listed a chart of what the ultra processed was. And it was, sugar, drinks, and chips, and all kinds of stuff. And they controlled the diets for the subjects for 2 straight weeks. And it was proven that the ultra processed, shocker, gained weight and had an excessive calorie intake. And it, I don't know, it just shows that if you have a macronutrient count, or if you're trying to hit some sort of goal, just eat real food, like get away from the crap food. And yeah, that was my favorite. And that's my number one out of the 100 or 99, I guess, that we've done.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
Yeah.
It's hard to have a number one. I don't know if this was like the most groundbreaking, but I liked it a lot. And I think because of application wise, I mentioned before that it's great to have a study where you hear about it and you can apply it very easily, and it's not that big of a deal. We've done studies about muscle fibers and much more technical things, but one that I really like and I still do a lot of, and that's tart cherry juice. And just learning that tart cherry juice is fantastic for you. It has awesome antioxidants that reduce inflammation and oxidative stress in your body. It has helped with recovery and conditioning. I believe the study that we looked at helped in muscle soreness, and I think we've also looked at some that has helped in conditioning as well. And I've learned recently that it helps produce melatonin, which wasn't covered in the study that we talked about, but it does that as well. So, and it's just add tart cherry juice, whether it's the concentrate or the actual tart cherry juice. You just got to drink some. It's fantastic for you.
And do you have the number on that one?
Oh yeah, 43. And I guess I had a 2B. I had another one that was just super easy. And that was, I'll just say, the carb rinsing, which was episode 01 on carb rinsing. And we just did another one.
So you're in a category of liquids. Got it.
Yes. Liquid supplementation.
Well, he needed it after, what was it, your Murph or something, that you got really nauseous or something like that?
Yeah, I've learned that I actually need carb rinsing or a little bit of something halfway through if I'm working out fasted, because my body's just completely depleted.
Yeah. Tart cherry juice is another one that did make its way into my daily life. I don't take it every single day. I took it a lot for a while, and then I stopped. And that's a riveting
I'll get like
story.
halfway through. Yeah, I'll get like halfway through a bottle of concentrate, then it gets on the door on the refrigerator, and it just kind of blurs into the background.
Yeah, it's hard for me to. There's a good amount of sugar in tart cherry juice, and so it's hard for me to know when to put that into my diet.
I thought it just depends on what, like if you get the concentrate versus the like.
I get the concentrate that you take shots of, but it's still, right. I mean it's like it would be like liquid IV. I guess there's probably like 12 grams of sugar or something.
But
like
it's
that.
coming from fruit. But I mean, it's still sugar. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Sugar is the devil. Okay.
I mean, we've covered some studies
and books.
And books. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm basically keto again after that last one from Bickman.
Oh no, here we go.
I'm just really low carb again, but I ordered some keto test strips just to see if I'm actually dipping into ketosis unknowingly again, which has happened to me before. So we'll just see. Guess I slipped in an update there, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. All right, Jerred, what's your number one?
All right, my number one was Joe's number 2. So 28, How to Burn Fat. I do recommend anybody and everybody listening to this go back and listen to that episode. So it was a big introduction and breakdown of zone 2 training and the importance of low intensity exercise in general. And like Joe mentioned, it has really transformed Garage Gym Athlete programming. It's helped the community better understand the science behind what we do, because some of the things that I've programmed over the years have been almost intuitive and theoretical, but not necessarily science backed, like sustainable and repeatable efforts in conditioning. When I first started doing that many years ago, like when we first started, I've been talking about sustainability and repeatability. I didn't really know why I like the science behind why things should be sustainable and repeatable. It just made sense to me that if you were doing 10 intervals and the first one was twice as far as the last one, that just didn't seem like fitness to me. That seemed like hard effort to failure. Like it didn't make any sense. And then I started to find the science that kind of backed that up. And same with us programming occasional 30-minute runs or longer runs. But I didn't, when we first started programming those things, we didn't have I just knew that like conditioning is good. Like you learn these things, like it's good, but I didn't have all the science behind that to be able to communicate it to the athletes. And all the science that has come out around zone 2 has really proven that, and actually given us really strict parameters around how our conditioning should be performed. And so the actual name, like Joe mentioned, the name of the episode is How to Burn Fat, but the name of that study is nowhere close to that. It's Assessment of Metabolic Flexibility by Means of Measuring Blood Lactate, Fat, and Carbohydrate Oxidation Responses to Exercise in Professional Endurance Athletes and Less Fit Individuals. And so they are talking about fat burning, carb burning. They're talking about blood lactate. But it also is a big eye opener to me, because once I so many rabbit holes. You have no idea. I have journals and notebooks, pages full of breaking down this study and other studies that were mentioned in this study of how this all works. Because what I pulled out of this, if you really dive into it, is high intensity exercise mimics unhealthy people unhealthy with metabolic disease. And so when you're unhealthy and you have metabolic disease, when your body starts to work hard, it immediately switches to carbohydrate oxidation because it doesn't know what else to do. It's trying to burn the sugar that you have. That means you're very unhealthy. And in fit individuals, when we go to do a moderate work, low intensity, we immediately start burning fat. We're not burning carbohydrates. We don't start burning carbohydrates until we get to this moderate high intensity, and that's the opposite. And so it just kind of was like an eye opener for me, because I'm like, why would we mimic what in our training, what is proven to be metabolically unhealthy, and that's to burn sugar. And that's all high intensity exercise is doing, is burning sugar constantly, never burning fat. And so that was just a big eye opener for me. And it really answered the question how you burn fat and how to be more healthy with this stuff, and what elite athletes do and what fitter individuals should do. So that one was a really big one, and yeah, very impactful here at Garage Gym Athlete. And I'm just going to go over my honorable mentions real quick. If anybody else has an honorable mention, you can knock those out. But I'm just going to not really talk about the why as much, just mention them. So episode 101 was carbohydrate rinsing was an honorable mention for me. Joe mentioned it. 22, how cooling can increase both aerobic and anaerobic performance. And I'm pretty certain that was a study where people were like cooling their arms in between sets and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And
Wrists, yeah.
I just found that one very interesting. I've never done it, and I probably never will, but I just thought it was cool. And then I think it was the same one that you mentioned, is low intensity training the next big thing, number 27. So a lot for me on the conditioning side, takeaways for stuff. So any honorable mentions for the two of you?
I think it's funny that none of us on our lists, I mean, I think all of them should be honorable mentions, but any of them about concurrent training. And pretty much all of them were just like, see, this is
that's
what we do.
all they were. It's like, do you need to hear it anymore?
Yeah. So we've sliced and diced concurrent training. There's been one that compared concurrent with strength and with endurance. There was the one that we just did, the huge meta-analysis that looked at, different level of athletes. So all the concurrent training ones is, I feel like we just once a quarter have to like just tune our own horn a little bit and be like, hey, yeah, see, concurrent training, it's cool.
I don't know if I have any honorable mentions that are necessarily like within the 99. I mean, I've loved multiple studies that we've done. I really like the cluster sets one, number 60. But I actually, some of the stuff that I've taken away a ton, and I'm really excited, Jerred, that you are opening up, like interviewing people again. I really love Dr. Allison Brager, and you interviewed her. I think you did her twice. And I want to
Maybe even 3
say
times, to be honest. She was on quite a few times. Yeah.
she was great. And a lot of our sleep routines for me and Scott started with her, and like how to like dim stuff and how to stay away from screens and blue light blocker glasses. And even like she talked about cold drinks versus warm drinks, like be mindful of what you're drinking even at night to kind of help you decompress and really have a good down regulation practice. I really loved that kind of stuff. So I'm excited for what's to come with the different podcasts and whatever. And even some of the books that we've read, like not just studies, like the books reviews that we've done, it's been really cool. Like the Why We Sleep book was super eye-opening for like sickness and whatnot. And I know we've covered a lot of nutrition and stuff too, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And what you said, like we've been not just studies, but we read a book once a month as a team too, to try to like better ourselves, but also like try to give the athletes too, like what are some takeaways that you can get from this book too. But yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah. Another thing, a big takeaway from Allison Brager, I think about it almost every time I am going to consume alcohol, was
Mm.
she's like, never consume alcohol on a training day. And the fact that I train almost 7 days a week now, like kind of removes my ability to drink alcohol, because I really try and stick
Yeah.
to that rule to the best of my ability. And so, uh, yeah, that was a big takeaway I had from her. And then we've done studies since then on the podcast to talk about how, alcohol blunts muscle protein synthesis and all these other things. And so, yeah, you really aren't
Testosterone.
seeing a lot of results from it's almost like taking your antihistamines. If you drink a bunch of alcohol after you train, it's going to be bad for you. So yeah, I do enjoy interviews. You get to learn a lot from different people. They will be a little bit more sporadic in nature, just because what happened on the Better Humanology podcast is sometimes you're just like trying to get an interview, right? And so you
Right.
just interview somebody and you're like, I don't, okay, whatever, and not to bash any guests. It's just like maybe that person wasn't a good fit for what you're trying to do, and you interviewed him anyway. And so I'm going to be really selective and bring on certain people, and anybody who I think is doing something cool, or people who are really smart. Maybe a combination of the two. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well.
Mm.
Another honorable mention for me would be episode 36 on supersets. I believe this is the same
Mm.
superset one. That's the one that compared the agonist, antagonists,
Yeah,
and then the other two
body
different types and
geometry
how,
proof.
yeah. So how best to program your supersets for strength gains and wise, and how and why just how awesome supersets can be and how it doesn't really interfere, and but the best ones to program together with that. And sexy Saturday, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
Hashtag my life now.
All right. Well, those are all the studies. If you go into your podcast player, or as Ashley mentioned on the blog, you can search. And the easiest thing to do is just search by number, because we have a lot of episodes we've published. So if you were like, oh, okay, I really want to listen to episode 28, which is the one I mentioned, just type in 28 and it should be, pop up there, because all of our science uh, podcast episodes have like a number colon the title. So you should be able to find them that way. So anyone who wants to dive into any of the ones we just mentioned, go ahead and do that. But now we're going to get into answering these questions. We've all answered these questions over the years. And I don't know. I don't even remember. I never remember what I answered previously. And so really when I answer these questions, for me, it's always how I was feeling that day is my response to these.
Or
It's
your
not,
season of life or
yeah, the
something.
season of
Yeah.
life, like whatever it is, like so I would love to know what I've said over the years. I don't even really remember, but let's start with the hardest workout you've ever done, since Ashley went first last. Joe, hardest workout you've ever done?
So I'll agree that all of these questions pretty much change depending on the seasons. This one hasn't changed and probably never will change. I don't know when, if it ever will, but it's Calzoo. It's the CrossFit workout Calzoo that I did
Hmm.
the full version, well, scaled weight version, and half Calzoo. And that is one that is typically a program. RX is 100 thrusters, heavy thrusters, so 135 for guys and 95 for females. But every minute on the minute, you're doing 5 burpees. So there is no rest. if you take a minute off, that's one more minute you have to do burpees. If you go faster, then you're just going faster and you're doing thrusters into burpees, and it is terrible.
That one's
It
bad.
it really is bad, and because there is no pacing, there is no strategy. I mean, there's so much strategy if you just want to die quickly or die slowly over time.
Yeah,
Pretty sure.
I started CrossFit in college, and at the very end of college, and that was like I just immediately Googled hardest CrossFit workout ever because I wanted to just do that. What's the hardest thing I want to do it, and someone had posted Kalsu, and I was like, fine, let's do it. That took me so much longer than I thought it was gonna. Like everyone has a game plan going in. They're like, I'll just do five thrusters every minute, and I'll be done in 20 minutes. It's not gonna work out that way, and it's gonna be brutal. So if you want a challenging one, and you want that to be your answer to this question, just go do the workout.
Yeah.
Well, I think too, is it 13.5 and it was a repeat? I think it was 16.5 or something. It was thrusters and burpees over the bar as well.
It was like
And that's
21, 18, 15. Yeah.
yeah, and lots of people got rhabdo after that bad boy. So it's
Phenomenal programming.
I don't
apparently
go fast.
thrusters and burpees are not a great combination.
I don't go fast enough to get rhabdo.
Which is a funny behind the scenes story. I wrote an article on rhabdo years and years ago, like a long time ago, like probably one of the first 50 articles I wrote. And I could always tell when there was bad programming in the CrossFit Open, because that article got picked up by like the Huffington Post and a bunch of other big news syndicates. But the Into 3 Fitness site traffic would spike right after the CrossFit was open, people Googling rhabdo. And so, because they would find it on our website. So I was like, oh, they must have programmed some pretty crappy workouts this year.
Ashley?
My hardest one is also a CrossFit one. It's called Under the Kitchen Sink. I think I talked about it my episode that y'all interviewed me for, but it's 20 reps of all these different movements, and it's literally every movement you can do. It's wall shots, box jumps, push-ups, cleans, double unders, thrusters, pull-ups, front squats, you name it, kettlebell swings, snatches, and you have the same weight on the barbell. It's 95 for females, 135 for men, and then 53 for men on kettlebell, 35 for a female. I do not suggest you do this. It took me over an hour to do it. I was a newbie CrossFitter, but still, I remember there was a ton of us that were going into the next class time because we were not finished. And our coach was like, you will finish. It's like, okay, I will finish. So it took me over an hour. And I just remember oh man, I did not feel good after that one. So that was definitely one of the hardest ones I've ever done.
That's like every 12 days of Christmas workout that everybody ever invents. Like every gym has their own variation of what order you're doing things in, but
yeah,
all of them are going to take you forever and they're going to suck after about 6 or 7.
See, I think there's a way to do those though. I don't know. I like 12 days of Christmas. I'm weird like that, but
you are weird like that in general with hard things in fitness, which is a good thing.
Yeah. Jerred, what about you?
Okay, so I'm going to go to recent history here because I just try to think of like when I've actually met myself so I'm at that point where I'm like, this is horrible and I don't want to do it. And I've done so many Meet Yourself Saturdays over the years. A lot of times they're not Meet Yourself for me anymore. It's just like a hard workout that day, and normally it's the weather that makes me meet myself, not so much the work itself. But recent history was the BCT track.
Wow.
So when I started BCT, my squat was at 405, and then I capped out about 465. And I don't know where I'm at now. I'm probably, to be honest, I'm probably back down to like 415 because of how much time I had to take off from heavy squatting. But we did these sets, and I programmed it twice, or we would squat 2 to 3 times per week starting out in the beginning. And there was a 10 sets of 3 at 85%. And 3 sets of 9 reps at 75%. So that was done. The 10 by 3 was on a Monday, and the 3 by 9 was on a Wednesday. And when my squat max was like at 405, that was challenging. But then I progressed very rapidly. And so I got to 450 pretty fast. 465 took that extra 15 pounds took a lot longer, but from 405 to 450 came really fast. And then I programmed those again. So a 10 by 3 at 85% of 450 and a 3 by 9 at 75% of 450. I just remember both of those days being like, I hate everything about everyone. And I was taking like 5-minute rests in between sets because I just couldn't bring myself mentally to do another set. And so that was my, in most recent history, really heavy, even high rep, high percentage. That 3x9 was probably worse than the 10x3. Was very, very challenging and definitely met myself. So that's hardest workout I've done in recent history.
Probably longer for you to get your heart rate back down too. I mean, if you're thinking about it, just depends. Because that's kind of where I'm at now too. It's like I don't even care about time. I just wait till my heart rate comes back down, and then I go again. But shoot, now I want to do that.
Yeah,
Self-guided rest time. We did that as a study.
We did.
yeah. I was self-guiding the hell out of that workout, and I think it took me like 2 hours that day to finish everything. All right, next question. In your opinion, what's the best activity for building mental toughness?
So mine's going to be uncomfortably long workouts or events. So these are like the workouts that are pushing 50, 60 minutes or more. Heavy load long distance is 60 minutes of carrying an object, but something like hypothetically, a Spartan race in freezing weather in the rain is, it's up there for building mental toughness and things like that to really test yourself, especially these hard events, because you're more likely to not back out. You can't really quit on an event, especially if you're like on a course. It's a lot harder to quit
Yeah, where are you gonna
just
go?
yeah. It's more of, you're more likely to, okay, I need to go down, unless you're like actually injured. It's like, okay, I'll just get down to this part. I'll get down to this part. Or if it's like if you're out on like a long run or carrying something, like you have to come back. So you can't really quit. And that's when you're really trying to fight with yourself. So, Iron Mile, things like that are the longer, uncomfortable events. Iron Mile isn't that long, like time wise, but either way, I think, yeah, long endurance,
Mm.
especially if the weather's terrible.
You mean when you're borderline hypothermic?
Yeah.
Oh, we got real close real fast, guys.
Yeah.
I will segue into mine is always do the hard things. So it's kind of along the same lines as Joe, but mine is not necessarily, it doesn't have to be fitness. I think we talked about it obviously in a podcast, but we talked about try to do the things that you don't want to do. So we talked about like folding laundry was mine, doing dishes was somebody else's and whatnot. And even I think Jerred's calendar has something to check that off every day. But I think it is great mental toughness if you can find something to do every day that is defined as like a hard thing, something not necessarily that obviously comes easy. I think it builds character and it maybe then becomes not hard for you and then you move on and you do something else. And so yeah, that's my
Hormesis, right?
I think yeah.
It's one of those. So how I defined hard thing in the book Killing Comfort was pushing forward against your own desire plus daily over decades. So doing something you don't want to do for every day for years is a hard thing, and that goes in line with my answer as well. So, but I put two. So I'm going to start with my more tactical one, and I will always say cold exposure because there's no like I'm sure you can get used to it. I never have. And it's just funny. I was thinking about this when I was writing this stuff down. Is like everyone thinks of like David Goggins as like a super tough guy. I don't see him in a lot of ice baths. Like is that the line for David Goggins? Is it he's like, maybe I don't know. I'm not a fanboy who like knows everything about David Goggins, but like I always see him doing videos running down the street saying he's doing 15 miles. Like, how about 15 minutes and 30 degrees? Let's see. Come on. I'm sure he's very capable of doing it. I'm just saying, like, it's a different stimulus that sucks. And it's very, very, very challenging. So cold exposure, I think, forces you to learn how to basically meditate in a very quick way and take control of your thoughts. So I think it's a good way to build mental toughness, just kind of like within yourself, like how to control yourself when things are getting hard. But my bigger picture one is very similar to what you said, Ashley, is just this consistency over long periods of time with things that you don't want to do, or just things that you know are going to make you better, because sometimes you want to do it, but you don't want to do it. you desire the outcome that this effort is going to provide, but you just don't want to do it every single day and making yourself do that. So I think consistency in any way, shape, or form, whatever it is that you're doing, keeping any sort of streak, 100 days in a row, 200 days in a row, 1,000 days in a row of almost anything, builds a lot of mental toughness. And that's where I'll go with that one.
Hmm.
All right. If you could only have one piece of equipment to train with for the rest of your life, what would it be?
This is when the whole seasonal thing comes into play.
Yeah, I
And
was like, yours was rings or something last time.
yeah, the rings usually circles back. I might go to something else real quick, then I come back to rings. But it's adjustable dumbbells because I have rings here, but all I have is a sandbag. But it'd be nice to have adjustable dumbbells because I don't have my barbell, I don't have my rack, I don't have anything like that at my house here. I have the bike and the rower and the sandbag and the rings. Dumbbells would be fantastic to have. And I think and adjustable dumbbells in general, I really want to add. It's just their prices are ridiculous right now, and who knows when they'll come down. But it'll be something I'll be watching when I get back to the States.
Yeah. Mine will forever be barbell. I love a barbell. I love what you can do with a barbell, and those are my favorite days, barbell days. So,
And I'm gonna
Jerred.
go. I kind of revealed this on a recent podcast. I'm
Uh-oh.
going with a pull-up bar. That's just kind of where I'm at right now with in my season of life. This answer could change in like 3 weeks. But with recently hurting my back and
Mm.
just never wanting to be in that level of pain again, like I didn't really talk about the details of that too much. Like I am getting better, but when I couldn't like play soccer with my kids or like stand for long periods of time, I was like, F this. Like, why the
Right.
hell am I squatting heavy? Like, why am I doing any of this at all? And when when the rubber meets the road, I'm perfectly fine with just running like some zone 2 and doing some pull-ups and push-ups. Like I could do that stuff for the rest of my life and be perfectly happy.
Mhm.
And so that's why I think right now it's a pull-up bar.
Welcome.
All right. Last question. Best advice for garage gym athletes, Joe?
Focus on you and what you want, and then tailor a routine and habits to do that. So this is all about building habits and structuring your day to that every single habit you have becomes a lifestyle to either live the life you want or the goals that you want. So really making a effort on sleep and nutrition and things if that's your health goals, and it's not just like Monday through Thursday kind of thing. It's every single day practicing this, working toward it, and because things still count on the weekends. So focusing on what you want and having that be your habit forming point and form those habits, and then kind of the daily over decades did you make yourself 1% better every day or as you go to build the habits.
I like that.
Yes.
Mine is figure out your why. And I just said it'll sustain you through the ups and downs of training as well as life. And we talk about it. I think we have talked about it previous podcasts, but even with our athletes, if we're working one-on-one, or me with Women's Health Track, or Kyle with probably his concurrent training elite group, you have to have a depth there. It can't be a surface level why, so just being transparent right now, if mine was, I just want to aesthetically look great, I would have stopped. You know what I mean? Like I would have stopped training. Like there is so much more depth into like, I want to be the healthiest version of myself in the different areas of my life. And it may look different than what it looked 10 to 5 to whatever years ago. But I feel like if you can find that depth and understand like why you're doing this, like I said, it'll just make you do the daily, do the hard, do the grind, and continue through. Not just training, even with life too. So yeah, really examine like what's your why and why it is that kind of thing.
That's great. All right. For me, I could just say kill comfort, but I will not say that. My actual
Read my
best
book.
advice for all the garage gym athletes
Read my book.
is always go small. And
Hmm.
so I think that we can get wrapped into trying to achieve really big goals or wanting to do this, that, or the other. I mean, this works in training. You don't feel like training today. We've said these kind of tips before. Go small, do the warm up, see what happens after that. And you don't feel like doing your whatever work you have to do today in your job. Okay, just get started. Do the first task that you can, and then see where things go. And I think I'm just a product of always doing that because I don't want to do a lot of things. And I think that's like human nature, and because a lot of things that I want to do are hard. They're not easy things. And so I'm always have to just go to the smallest piece of that puzzle, because if I get too overwhelmed with how many pieces there actually are, or getting tied up into things wanting them to be perfect, all this crap, like I got to remove myself from those things and just go small with this thing that I'm doing. But I always make sure that going small is connected to something bigger that I'm looking to achieve, because I can work on a lot of small things for very long periods of time, as long as those are going to be equate to something much bigger down the road. So whatever you're trying to achieve, like in fitness, we have literally told people to stop drinking Coke before and they lose like 20 pounds. Then we dive into deeper things with them. Like, we're always going as small as we can, so the change or the habit will actually stick. And this goes all the way up to advanced athletes. It doesn't matter what you're trying to achieve. You might think that you can do it all, but you probably can't. You still have to go small on the little things and progress, one step at a time. So always go small. All right. Good episode 100 for the studies and the topics. Really cool to recap all that. Unfortunate Kyle couldn't be here. Would love to hear some of his answers to those things, but maybe he can phone it in. All right, we're gonna cover the Meet Yourself Saturday workout real fast, and then bounce. What do we have this week?
Burpee Save Me.
This is on your list, Ashley, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Burpee Save Me. It's 2,000 meter time trial row. And then you get to rest for, oh man, I don't have it pulled up, but I think it's 7 minutes. Am I wrong in that?
I think that sounds about right.
Yeah.
I'll pull it up.
Okay, thanks. And then after your rest time, you have to do, how about you pull it up, Jerred, and you tell us the exact amount of burpees that we have to do?
Yeah, it's 9 minutes of burpees and 7-minute rest between the 2,000 meter row and the 9-minute max burpees.
Right, but what's the number you have to hit?
109 reps or higher, and then burpees have saved you.
Yeah. And then if you are not saved, you then have to do another 2,000 meter row, which the challenging fact for that one is you try not to sandbag that. Try to it's sustainable and repeatable, just like what we said. If you have to do another 2,000 meter row, which it stinks after you've done as many burpees as you can possibly do for 9 minutes. But I think Jerred revealed a little something spicy the last time. Like, he separated the workouts. Like, you didn't even do it together. That's where he came up with the number. But I think it's kind of cool that the community steps up. And I mean, we have tons of people who, thank God the burpee saved you kind of thing. But
yeah, I did not cheat the workout. Maybe
correct.
I did them.
Not cheating. That's what I meant. You tested one and then tested another differently. Sorry.
Because I do remember when this was actually programmed, and I've told this story multiple times. I was on a family vacation in Colorado, and we were staying at I think the hotel was at right at 10,000 feet. And I just remember a 2,000 meter time trial row and 9-minute max burpees you've been there for 48 hours and you're at elevation. This was a very memorable and bad Meet Yourself Saturday for me. I did it though. The 109, I did it at elevation, and it was awful. And tips, Joey, you got a tip on this one?
Yeah, I think I've said this in the past, and that is calculate what it is to get those burpees in that time. See what that is per burpee per second, burpee per minute.
Yeah, and then once that doesn't work out, just start doing burpees until the timer hits.
Yeah, basically. Try and game it so you have a little bit of wiggle room, and then
yeah.
My tip is always opposite of that. Mine is just keep moving. I'm not saying go balls to the wall, obviously, but just get down and get up and don't stop. in order to hit that, especially after that 2000 meter. Because you think that 7 minutes is, oh, that's a lot of rest time. Oh, it goes by so fast after if you did the 2000 meter row the way you're supposed to do that. But yeah, this is one of my favorites. It's a good one.
It's a good test. Tips.
Do you have a challenge?
I don't think I have a challenge. I mean, other than actually make that 2000 meter row a time trial and not just like what you're doing. But this one it's just so difficult. I remember when I was at elevation, what happened to me was exactly what I just said to when Joe was talking about it. I was like, all right, I'm going to do this many burpees per minute on the minute, and then I'll rest the rest of that minute. And then I got to like minute 5 and that plan wasn't working out. And so it was just do burpees until you feel like you can't do a burpee anymore. And I just barely made it when I was at elevation. So that one, just get it done. I think don't feel sorry for yourself when you get into the burpees. Burpees to me is one of those like times where you have to ask yourself when you're doing a lot of burpees and you're stopping, you really need to ask yourself, why are you stopping? Like, is this absolutely necessary, or are you just feeling sorry for yourself?
Right.
Because that's, I feel like that happens to me anytime I do 100 burpees, that number right there, like 50 burpees, whatever, that's that 100 number. I get up into the 60s and I'm wanting to like stop or like not go as fast. And I'm just like, is it for real though? Like, is your knee hurt? Like, why are you stopping? So you just ask yourself that question while you're doing the burpees.
One other tip for burpees for me is like I get down, get back up, and then I touch my feet together, 1, 2, down, get back up, 1, 2, and it like gives me that like extra second, I don't know, to just kind of keep moving.
Don't do the burpees as fast as humanly possible. Like kind of like what Ashley's saying, like there's a cadence to burpees. When I'm doing this number, I just try to keep them consistent, but never like, squatting down or staying on the ground. That's what I mean by resting. Like you can go slower if you want to take like a ladder almost, like 2 or 3 breaths at the top, you'll be fine. But cool. That's it for this week. Really fun, guys. And we are changing up the podcast a little bit. You see AMAs shifting, interviews coming. The structure of the Monday episodes are going to change a little bit here in the next couple of weeks. So we like to shake things up about every 100 episodes. And so we're going to do that now. And if you want to be part of our training, the most well-educated, well-read scientific study team on the planet, then you can sign up for Garage Gym Athlete training at garagegymathlete.com. Sign up for a 14-day free trial. Now, the community, you guys are awesome. I just talked about how much money we raised for the Special Operations Warrior Foundation, and that would not have been possible without all of you. So you are awesome for so many reasons. And I just want to thank each and every single athlete for being a part of the community. And I've enjoyed all of these episodes and can't wait to do at least, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 more episodes. So thanks for listening. And that's it for this one. Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.